This is the Inside Data Center podcast. We talk to the people who power the data center sector to give you insider info on everything happening in DC today. Here's your host, Andy Davis.
So, welcome back to the second episode of the Inside Data Center podcast. I am Rory, Flashman, Managing Director of Spark Communications, and Andy's co-host for the evening.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure.
Feels like we're becoming the Ant and Dec and data centers.
We're like the worst Ant and Dec.
Yeah, the
history.
worst ones.
Yeah. The worst double act in history.
Indeed. And we are here in this podcast episode to talk about or ask if we are doing enough to attract talent into the industry in order to change its perception. So let's kick off with some intros.
Hi, well, my name's Scott Smyth. I'm the founder and CEO of Soben. We're a construction consultancy supporting our clients to build data centres, acquired by Accenture in March this year. We talked about diversity earlier, so I'm the Scottish guy.
Well played. We needed you.
Thanks for coming.
And I'm John McGee. I'm the CEO of Durata, and I'm the northern guy.
Nice. Brilliant.
You can see how we split the panels now, can't you?
Massively, yeah.
Geographical split.
Let's kick off with a punchy one. What is the biggest myth or misconception you hear about data centers?
I think from my perspective, there is a misconception that they are just big, simple boxes that consume lots and lots of power. Data centers are one of the most technically advanced construction projects that you can have. It's precision engineering. The innovation is second to none when you look at liquid cooling, AI energy management, etc. So for me, it's a misunderstanding around what the construction is itself, that it's a big box. It doesn't really do anything and is not adding any value, and I'm sure we'll explore that a bit more later.
Nice. Good answer. John?
I think kind of like, the first panel covered stole my thunder. But exactly what Scott said, it's big box. The myth about water, or the constant annoying conversation from the media around water. And they are big gas guzzlers, so to speak.
Nice. Andy?
I think they've covered it. I think the fact that we're not doing a lot of good stuff, but I think that's our responsibility to get that message out there. I think the misconception that data centers are bad, I guess, is where I'm going with it. But we do so many good things. We're just not very good at communicating those stories.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, I think for me, it's the misconception that the industry provides no value. If you think about where we are now, the City of London, we've got the second largest data center cluster in the world on our doorstep. Imagine what this city would be like if there were no data centers there, and the value that they actually bring in terms of the businesses, the economies, all of those sorts of things.
And I think as well that we don't employ people, which is, again, I don't know how many people we do employ, but there is definitely a perception in some areas that the data center industry doesn't really employ people, and they are, like Scott said, big boxes, nobody's inside them, or they're in the dark on their own. Whereas this industry employs it's construction, IT, engineering. You've got all the support services within it as well. It's an employer that offers some great careers, and obviously we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think I'm from Teesside. My Durata is based in Teesside, and there's the huge Tees work, basically the flattening of the old British steel. Great, because I just used to hate seeing that blot on the landscape. However, it did. It was a massive source of employment in the area. And now, yes, it's flattened. There's a hell of a lot of power there ready to be tapped into. There's a business being set up there, Sea Wind, which is one of the largest monopile factories in the world. Great. But then there was BP. BP was doing an 80 megawatt pilot plant, and that was for hydrogen. Now, the debate was that's been kind of like knocked back now because they can't see the sustainability of it, or is that hydrogen the correct thing to do? And then it was mooted about a data center, and then because I live up there, I hear what the locals say, and it was like, no, that's going to provide no jobs at all, 0 jobs at all, even though there's a hell of a lot in construction, there's a hell of a lot to manage the data center once it's built. But they just they saw the BP side of it as production staff, engineers, and obviously then a hell of a lot of people in the construction as well. So again, from a marketing, again from a perception point of view, it needs to get out there that data centers do employ a lot of people, and they're not just a big box, they're not just a big tin shed.
It's not just construction engineers, it's legal teams, it's marketing people, facilities management. That value chain goes on and on.
Exactly that. And with a data center, no, the thing about a data center, you should not lose power. That again is like, it shouldn't lose power. So there's a lot of work, effort, time, people, resource, brains goes into that to make sure you have 0 downtime. Everyone gets frustrated if they're off Snapchat for 2 seconds. So yeah, and do people understand the background of that and what goes into that? They don't.
Have you seen the same in Scotland? Because obviously again, it's a new emerging market, isn't it? We're through the UK perspective, and data centres are quite new to the region, as in we want to develop them, but it's now quite regular that it's in the media and developments are announced.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of announcements in the media in Scotland. I mean, we've written some white papers for the Scottish Government on the community benefits of data centres. One of the things that we come up with our client was for an AI growth zone. Why don't you make it a whole AI tech hub, an incubator for businesses, bring the best of the best engineers, technology startups together with the data centre being the hub for that. And the other piece was taking some of that waste heat and helping it to, grow vegetables, grow tomatoes, and, create that piece there as well. So there are lots of innovative things that you can do. One of my frustrations, I guess, with Scotland, and probably, to be honest, it's the whole of the UK, there is a disconnect between what the government says and what the government does. So we see the Scottish Government commissioned us to write a white paper on why data centres are a good thing, and apparently the minister was supportive of that. Yet when you go to the local authority to get planning, well, that's not in our 6-year plan. So you're going to have to wait. So that joined up piece is what's really frustrating. And the other thing that I guess that concerns me right now, particularly in the Scottish market, because it's expensive to build there, there's not large plots of land, albeit there are some isolated pockets that generally have already been identified for data centres, is the cost of energy. We're involved in a couple of massive schemes in Norway. We're involved in the Stargate scheme in Norway, and that's got the lowest cost of power in the world. Yeah. So that's what we're competing against in the UK and in Scotland in particular.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Like, we know organisations down here, operators in the UK who are championing Scotland as the next hub. I definitely see it as a major opportunity to grow in terms of the UK industry. Do you think the AI, or being awarded an AI growth zone status, will change things for Scotland?
100%. I mean, I think there's a direction of travel. I mean, I think the AI growth zone, again, not wanting to bash the government, but at the end of the summer, they were meant to announce the AI growth zones. That's been delayed. There's no timeline of when they're going to actually announce the growth zones. The minister that was in charge of growth zones has resigned, and there's not been a replacement. So this is back to this disconnection. But, bringing it back to the positive piece, we absolutely believe there is a opportunity in Scotland. I'm Scottish. If I look at the amount of air miles that I do, it's not the most sustainable way to help our clients build data centres. So there's actually a site about 6 miles from where I live, and I would love someone to build a data centre there.
Championing it, very much so. And how about you, John? I mean, Teesside is also touted to be an AI growth zone. I mean, you must be quite excited being from Teesside to see that materialise?
No,
No.
because the government years ago, it was under, I'm neither Conservative, neither Labour, whatever, right? So, but they're all the same to me, because years ago, when everyone wanted a vote, when Boris Johnson did, when Rishi Sunak said, right, we're going to level up, the only thing they levelled up was the price of a pint to down here. It's about £7 down up there now, right? And we're northern, we're really poor, right? So, and there's been no levelling up whatsoever, and I'd challenge anybody to say any different. They offer the odd scrap, and you're like, wow, just wow. So, and going back to what Scott said about air miles, I'm the same with. I'm down here every single week, and it's just like there's a bigger country outside of London. There's a bigger area outside London. I come to London to talk about work everywhere in the country, everywhere in Europe, everywhere in the world. But so just like spread the love a bit.
Agreed entirely.
And when it comes to talent, going back to that subject, and Scott, I know Scott's story of Soben is amazing. If anyone wants to chew his ear about it later, but you've exposure to other industries as well. It's not just data centers that you've both got exposure to. Do we overcomplicate this? Is this a bigger problem or a smaller problem than what we're trying to make it out? Is perception a big challenge for data centers, or actually is it just a STEM construction challenge?
I think it's a wider issue. I mean, there's no doubt that because of the big grey box and what's it actually doing, and the guys really addressed that well in the first session. Young people want a job that allows them to make an impact. So we need to get better at articulating what that impact is with all the use cases that's been spoken about. But taking it to the industry lens, there is absolutely and it's, I've been in this industry now for 30 odd years, and it's been pale, male and stale for that entire 30-year period. And I think one of the things that we need to do, I think, as people in the wider construction industry, is demonstrate that the diversity of role. I'm a quantity surveyor. I think a quantity surveyor is the best job in the world, and it's not counting bricks. It's contract. It's looking at commercials. It can be office based. You can be site based. You can work for lawyers, clients, anywhere in the world. So I look at what quantity surveyors get paid, and I think, my goodness, that's incredible, that the career opportunities. I don't think you can apply that to many of the professions and the trade professions as well. And I use trade professions intentionally because, again, as a society, I think for too long we have undervalued a trade route. And I think you just need to look at Hoodie earlier, who's came through and what he's achieved. And I think as a society, we need to be elevating the importance of trades and the opportunities that can create. And the irony is, we're talking about AI. Trades are one of the jobs that are less likely to be impacted. So something for us all to reflect on.
It's quite interesting just on that note. Jensen Huang came out 2-3 weeks ago saying that literally plumbers, electricians, plasterers, they're in pole position for the AI revolution because we need people to build data centers. So it's quite interesting. Trades are going to become even more important, given that we have a massive skill shortage already.
And they are. In 1988, where I started my apprenticeship, I had a fantastic apprenticeship. I'm an electrician. And my dad said to me, he went, "You will be worth your weight in gold." He said, "You really will be worth your weight in gold because it's a dying, people don't want to do that." Come through the 90s, through the 2000s, when everyone else would rather literally go and dance around in front of Simon Cowell. Give it to me. Right, and then be disappointed when they got shoved to the back of the queue.
You're speaking from experience here.
No. This is purely what I was
Better this because you weren't selected.
He looked directly at me. That's what. Didn't know anyone knew about that.
But and again, it's kind of like that era was kind of dumbed out. But what at Durata, what we encourage, and you said about pale, male, and stale, what we encourage, and is complete diversity. And we run a fantastic apprenticeship scheme. It's because I had one, and my project director, he had a fantastic one with NG Burley's as well. And like the pair of us, we both experienced an excellent apprenticeship and grounding. And that's what we want within our business. All of our project delivery team, the 6 of the guys on the electrical side, they're all under 30. Every one of them are under 30. But the project director is older and more experienced, and we're just driving it into them and giving them ambition and giving them the platform to develop, and that goes across our business. And because I had such a good grounding and training, that's exactly what that's what I want as my legacy, and I'm bringing it into the data center industry, and I have been for a long time now.
I've got a kind of view on this as well. I mean, I think we're in the fastest growing, hottest sector in the world right now. And I would imagine that there's money being made. Construction historically has been a very low margin industry. And that's been the excuse for lack of investment and STEM. It's been very fragmented. There's a few that are really good at it. I think your 3 hierarchy approach was really good earlier. I think, it's upon all of us now to really take that and reinvest back in to get that fully diverse across all flavours of that. Because McKinsey's done some research that the more diverse your business is, the more successful it is.
And I think I was going to say to John as well, like because there's this, again, a misconception that the younger generation they don't want to be apprentices. They don't work as hard. And I know it's a myth because I see them, but how do you find attracting these people into your apprenticeship scheme?
I personally, there's 2 schools that I go to, and what are the current years now? Last year of primary school before going into
6.
Yeah. So I go in there, and I even go to years below that, and I kind of like dumb the industry right down. Like the kids that I go to who are in year 3 and 4, right? So year 3 and 4, I ask them about who's got a mobile phone and act all surprised when all of the class puts their hands up, and then they play Roblox and things like that. And then I kind of like revert it right back to how that power is generated to give them what they're actually doing, and then talk about data centers, but like dumb it down. And that's really good. I get forced into that because my daughter's a teacher. So that's like, every year I do that. But then as you go up the years, they get a lot cheekier. Yes, they ask what your net worth is and all that stuff. But so they've all watched The Apprentice or whatever's on the television. But we do go into schools and we promote and champion the data center industry, and we champion the fact that I love this industry. I really do. Look, I've been in it 21 years. I love it because I think it's diverse, and I think you can work all over the world. It's glamorous. God, I've built steel plants. I've built aluminium smelters, McDonald's milkshake factories in Oxford. This is the best industry you can be in for a trade. Like I say, it's glamorous. All of our apprentices, all of our guys who work for us, who works in Canary Wharf every week, who sees all of Donald Trump's bloody aeroplanes go past, whilst working on a project. And we work in some sensitive areas, and the guys get to experience it. The guys have been in America, they've been all over Europe, and it's a fantastic industry. It really is. So get there at the bottom.
Yeah, I agree. It's the world's best industry that no one's ever heard of. But once it gets under your skin, you're in. Literally, you can build an amazing career in it. It's funny, we're talking a lot about diversity here and attracting talent, and the fact that this is 4 white blokes sitting on a podcast talking about diversity, the irony is definitely not lost on me whatsoever. So, the pair of you are both building very fast growing businesses, but faced that challenge of hiring and finding talent. Do you think there's a role that perception plays in that? And within that, do you think we need more role models that are more relatable?
I think yes. To the second part, absolutely. What was the first part of the question again?
about hiring talent,
But also it's
face the
about,
challenge.
I think on the role models piece, I think it's on us as well to make it welcoming and encourage these people to become role models. Because I think there's that, again, the perception that people are comfortable doing, being in the public eye, and a lot of people aren't. So it's trying to make it a comfortable environment where they're happy to share their story, and it's not that easy.
Yeah,
I've got
space.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I think that's bob on. I also think, though, that and every sector does this, not just data centers. We've seen it in utilities and water and rail. We need you to have 10 years experience in this sector before we'll even consider you for a job. And I think that's wrong. I believe that a lot of what we do is transferable, and it's almost a little bit of protectionism by, I want someone with 20 years experience in the data center sector. They've got to be, speak German and understand this form of contract and, understand Japanese as well. We've seen all sorts of, I think we identified the very only in the world chartered quantity surveyor that could speak Japanese, and he was prepared to work in Japan. So I think that was probably unique. But I think we need to start being less protective of our industry and opening it up to different sectors who are going to bring different approaches, different thought processes, and different experiences. All of us got involved in the data centre at some point, and it can be picked up.
100%. 100%. I was having this conversation yesterday with a guy who I served my apprenticeship with, who's gone on to open a very successful commissioning business in the data center industry, but he didn't start in the data center industry. He's offshore. When he brought all of his procedures and processes and procedures to a data center in Sweden, everyone was blown away. Initially, they didn't want to do that, and what you said, it's protecting, and you're never going to expand if you're going to protect. You're just going to be insular. You've got to expand, and the transferable skills from a trades perspective. When I come into the industry, I was like, oh yeah, what is the data center industry? And from an electrical point of view, it's big cables going into a small space. Well, that's what I serve my time on. Stuff like that in Teesside is full of industry, so it was easily transferable to me. And Ray, my mate of mine, his business is booming in the data center industry now because he's bringing stringent offshore standards and procedures into the data center industry, and it's working tenfold.
I think the industry started to look for other skills from other industries out of necessity. I think this industry was really anti it, but now the growth is so extreme that it has no choice, which is a good thing. But that just sums up this industry. Change is necessity, not, oh, let's be forward thinking and let's actually, let's think of how we could impact this in 2-3 years. It was more, oh no, they're building a lot of data centers now. What are we going to do? We need to look to some other skills. And like you say, offshore, great skill set. Obviously in North Scotland, there's a massive talent pool, Norway, etc. It's there. That industry is not going as well as it once was. How do we get them into this industry?
Right now, I would say that the majority of the people here are from the data center industry. Hands up if you work in data centers. Yeah, interesting. Hands up if you don't. 2, 3 people left in the house. All right.
I'd like to know, why do people that are not in it, why are you here? And that's it. And I mean that in a nice way. If it's
Yeah. You've been drinking my beer.
the bar's no longer free.
It said something about beer and food. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no, it's all right. No, so I don't directly work within the data center. I work for a product business that supply technology to data centers. But it's not just data centers we work with. So what you've all talked about, skill shortage, talent, all those things, construction, that's going all over all of my industry, right? I work in BMS, right? So you guys need it, but it's not the most important part of your business. Yeah, it's controlling the most important part of your business. Yeah. And so for me, this is interesting to listen to. I want to know, I guess, what's the biggest challenge you've got outside of all the things that are so important to you?
One for you, boys.
It's a good question.
You go first now.
I think it's just. From most of my conversations, I had two meetings today with investors of significant funds in the industry, and it's people. Their biggest problem is people right now. Like, how do I get the right people, the best people? How do I retain people? Obviously, power is a huge problem in this industry, but people tends to come up in most. Obviously, I'm a recruiter. That's the conversations we're having, but genuinely, they're the topics of conversation that are happening in the boardrooms and in investor channels. Like, we can do this, but we can't do it without people.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, my business, it's a people business. We don't earn any revenue unless we've got people delivering a service. And we can't grow without more people. And I think that's where the open mind approach to skills, to maybe looking at breaking down jobs into their component parts so we can bring people into that role a little bit earlier. Doing entry-level jobs to then move on, and you kind of bolt onto that. So we've got a Soben Academy program that takes people ideally from school to college to university, because that gives you much more practical experience. We see a lot of people coming out of university and they want to, go and commercially manage a data center before they've, done anything a lot simpler. So for me, I think it's back to the issues that we've spoken about, but it can't just be about we pay people more and more money and poach people from our competitors.
Yeah, major problem. The reason I actually asked that question is because it's interesting.
I interrupted.
No, you're all good, Andy. So the reason I asked that question to begin with was primarily because we're doing this to begin to try and change the perception, doing a podcast in the pub. No one's done that before, right? So in your opinion, how do we get outside of the industry? We do a lot of talking amongst ourselves. How do we take a message about data centers outside of the sector and begin to communicate in other places, which is uncharted territory, places we haven't gone before? And where would you go?
I mean, there's career fairs. I think, attending career fairs. I think each of us having a responsibility to engage with the local schools and colleges and highlight the opportunity. And we've talked about it's not just on a building site. That's what you want to do, great. There's a whole suite of other roles that are required. Other than that, I mean, I guess social media is a really big thing. I'm 52 now, so I kind of missed the social media part of my life, but I'm sure there's opportunities there. Andy, you'll know better than me in terms of strategies and how we can do that collectively.
I think I always say you communicate where your audience is. So, and I would say this about the industry as well, like, who are we trying to communicate with? Because we tend to communicate in the same way and expect the school kids and the 55-year-old CEO to listen to the same sort of output. And it's, if you want to attract younger people, you need to be on TikTok and the like. That's where you need to be. If you want to attract your C-level, your senior individuals, you're probably in a different environment, and that applies socially as well as physically.
Yeah. I think though, with regards to that, what we do at Durata, like I said, we go from school, like school level, and we're good at that. We are great at that. But this year we've had to scale significantly for the growth that we're going to be doing in the next 12 to hopefully 5 years or so. But what we've done, our financial director, he's from like the hospitality industry. Our marketing director, she worked for Jaguar Land Rover and then a huge bank. Our HR, she was for DPD. Yeah, that one. Yeah, the delivery guys that throw your parcels wherever you want or wherever they want. And like so that our internal sales coordinator, she's 25 years with Howden's selling kitchens. There's a lot of skills that are easily transferable, and it's not rocket science. It really isn't. For tradespeople to transfer into this industry, it's not rocket science at all. It really isn't. And for salespeople as well, it's not like what we're doing here is, I think is fantastic. What Richard Irwin's doing at Gen Plus One, I genuinely believe is fantastic. It's not us all sat in a pub or stood in a pub talking bollocks, drinking beer until you can't stand anymore. And there's a lot that.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
No,
I'm trying my best to.
yeah, exactly. So I genuinely believe things like this is great for like diversifying. I don't care if someone is male, female, whatever you want to be, as long as you are good at your job and as long as you are capable of doing your job and as long as you apply yourself, I genuinely do not care. And I think that's what everybody should be like.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people like both of you are having a big impact as well, because you're reinvesting, because you've been on that journey. You were those people, you know, you, like you say, you were an apprentice, you were, you know, a QS, and you've worked your way up. And now people like yourselves are getting to that point where you can give back. And I think the industry's starting to see that across the board now, where it's not those individuals that have been in situ for 20, 30 years. There's fresh minds, fresh people that are now in the position to give back and attract different diversity to the industry.
I think it's getting out the echo chamber as well. You know, even here, you know, we're in this pub. Where is this going to go? You know, how do you guys get this out into the wider community? I think that's going to be key. You know, we all meet in Cannes and Hawaii and, you know, all these wonderful places. But it is a bit of an echo chamber. So, you know, I think it's great what you guys are doing to really raise the profile. And I think this type of format is brilliant because it makes us seem human. You know, if there's a young person comes into a room full of, you know, people that are suited and booted. I used to hate networking when I was early in the industry. But this is a much more relaxed and welcoming environment.
And I think as well, we've all been there, haven't we? And that's why I try and do things differently, because I've been that person that's walked into a room and thought, oh God, like, you know, who do I speak to? I don't know anybody. I'm that person that's kind of new to the industry. I don't really know what I'm going to say. I might say something stupid. We've all been there, and now you want to change it. You do want to change the perception, and like you say, trying to do different things. And other people, like you say, mentioned Gen Plus One. There's other organisations doing some amazing things to try and tweak it now. But I think on Rory's point, and this is the billion-dollar question, is like, how do you get that message from us to outside the industry? And it you know, I was saying to someone earlier, like, if you do some shorts and put this on TikTok and one kid sees it, you know, you've done your job, haven't you? Yeah. That's all you're trying to do, really.
It always takes time. I think that's the big thing. Like all of these industries, energy, data centers, they're all facing the same issues when it comes to skills and talent, certainly. It will take time, but the more we have initiatives like this, talked about critical careers earlier, the more that people do stuff that's different, same with Richard and the team at Gen Plus One, the more things will begin to change.
I think time's part of the problem though, isn't it? Because we haven't got time. That's the challenge this industry has. The growth's so exponential. We need people now. We're never going to have enough people to cope with the demand. That's the reality of it. But we do need people now. And I think that's part of the challenge when you look at the investment in it. If you're investing in your business like you guys are for talent, you know it's a long-term investment. You're not going to get that return in 1-2 years. You want those people to be with you for 5-10 years. And because this industry is so short-term, part of the challenge is, well, I need someone yesterday. I need the all singing, all dancing person yesterday. I haven't got time to invest in talent. And I think that's the balance we're playing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we could start to invest in talent and we have to, because like I say, I've been in this industry 21 years and and it has developed, but it's only now that it is developing like on steroids.
Exponentially.
It really is. So everyone has to start, and everyone, but it's getting it out there to the wider audience, and like, you've got to start investing in people, and you've got to start bringing on talent. Creating talent.
Couldn't agree more.
And I think, as I say, like, hats off to both of you because you're doing it as well. Like, it's easy to say it, isn't it? But you know, I know you are. You're living, you're breathing it, and you're doing it because you're passionate about it. And hopefully, doing things like this helps share that story and get some message out. Pleasure. Questions from the floor? Should we do it again? It's a high risk move. Everyone's had more drink now as well. More drink has been had.
Hi guys. Hi. Firstly, Rory, Andy, thanks for setting this up and making it as accessible as it is. I really appreciate the platform.
Thanks for coming.
John and Scott, cheers for hopping on. I think this question is probably geared more towards Scott as a fellow Scotsman. I grew up in Dundee, and a lot of my friends, younger brothers and sisters, went through, I guess, traditional apprenticeships. So your joiners, your plumbers, your carpenters. How are, I guess, construction companies competing with already established apprenticeship platforms to create the talent that you guys were just referring to?
If I'm really honest, I don't think they're really doing enough. I mean, I think when I look at Dundee, great games university up there. I know Chris Van de Kool, kind of games entrepreneur, but there's an industry that's ripe for AI and potential job reduction. So, I think, coming from up there, there's a huge opportunity. I think it's about the contractors. I made the point earlier, putting their hand in their pocket and spending a little bit more. And there's always some great examples of contractors doing that. But one of the challenges is as you go down the supply chain, there's less and less money available. Because ultimately, whilst it's a booming industry, there's money to be made, but, margins often get tighter and tighter. And it's when you've got a main contractor, it's often the subcontractors that have to make that investment rather than the main contractor. So I think some of the professional bodies like the CIOB and I'm sure there's other professional bodies in Scotland and elsewhere that, can support that apprenticeship piece. I certainly think, Soben was involved a number of years ago on the UTC programme that Hoodie talked about. And I think that is brilliant. That has really taken people and made their skill set data centre centric. So I think, replicating that, if we could find a way to replicate that across the country, I think it would be outstanding.
And even the UTC is an example, like the governments make it so difficult. They make it so difficult to invest in it, and the balance isn't right. We should be encouraging education and platforms to invest in, whether it's young people or people from other industries, doesn't really matter what it is, but it shouldn't be so difficult to create those platforms. Thanks for the question. Any more questions?
Yeah, so I've basically been working with the cloud. It's just an abstraction on top of data centers, I guess. So I picked up interest in data centers, particularly I'm taking on what I consider to be an impossible problem. And that impossible problem is how to build more data centers around sub-Saharan African regions. Like seeing that there's been a surge in lots of unicorns in Nigeria specifically, Moneypoint, InterSwitch, Paystack, and these guys have been around London and back home in Nigeria. That's the answer to your question. That's why I'm interested in data centers, like building proprietary data centers for these guys instead of them using third parties like AWS, Azure, GCP, and the rest. So how do you think this kind of problem can be solved? Because of course they have a real energy problem. And is there any solution that has been built, and what are the challenges that we face that makes us not to be able to build data centers for locally in these places? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Has anyone got any have you worked anything in Africa, Scott?
Yeah, very, very limited. So we did work for a company, PAIX, P-A-I-X, which stands for Pan-African something. It was a couple of megawatts across 6 regions in Africa, so relatively small by today's standards. I think one of the challenges is the interconnectivity, fibre networks, etc. in Africa. I think where there is an opportunity, though, is this move for more sovereign data centres, and that's a big opportunity within Europe. as the world order starts to change a little bit, and there's, you know, lots of demand and new players that are coming in who are specialising in particularly sovereign data centres. So I would, in fact, one of the opportunities we had, we didn't secure the commission, but it was one of the Kenyan power utility businesses. So got a big power station, you know, right next to the generation plant, building a data centre. So I would consider looking at where the major utilities are generating power. And there, you know, there may well be plots of land adjacent to those where, you know, you've got less issues getting the power to the data centre itself. So that's maybe an angle that you might want to look at.
Any more questions? There's one at the back. Always at the back.
I have two questions. The first one is regarding the talent shortage. Usually in any industry, not only in data centers, one of the biggest factors for talent shortage or talent retention is salary or money or pay. Do you think it is the case in the data center industry? That was the first question.
I think I'll quickly answer it, and I'll let the guys answer. Our salary survey recently kind of pointed towards this, and it was more career development was one of the things around retention. So being able to see that career steps, it's not, I think we're fortunate in this industry that it pays pretty well. You know, let's be honest, it does pay well, but people are looking for development, and the industry doesn't always offer the development as quickly as people want it. So I think focusing on investing in your people is critical, and Scott and John will know better than I do. They're investing in their own people. So
It is that's exactly right. That is exactly right. The salary seems to be secondary these days, and it's like it is the career path, and it is the work-life balance of people. So that's what our younger people want. They just want a work-life balance as well as a career path. Yeah, and they're not bothered really about the salary, even though it is quite good.
The second question was to you, to the gentleman second from the right. Yeah, you were talking about that a lot of people that started working in your company were transitioning from other industries, and I was just curious about what are the sort of tips and tricks or the process of how you onboard them to get them up to speed in data center industry from a completely different industry.
We've got a good structure, and if you come from the chemical industry, food industry, whatever, as a trade, you will be you have got transferable skills. We've got people who worked on houses like 3-4 years ago who are now working on data centers, and that's not a slight on them for working on houses, because if they, as we call them as electricians, house bashers, you know they have to work hard to earn their money. So they've got the work ethic already built in. I don't mind that. That's great. So then it's just developing into the data center industry way of work, and it's just I don't see it as a big problem, and it's probably not a big problem to me, is because I'm an electrician. So yeah.
And I think the industry's not as difficult as it likes to make out that it is as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the perception challenge is that it's a really complex industry, and you know, like John just said, you know, he's an electrician. It's not. That's coming from someone that's done it, so it's not as difficult as we make out. Any more questions, or we have?
I think when we talk about perception, it can be quite individual as well, and I think for everyone to have a sort of fair go perceiving the data center reality, do you think that the data center industry in general and individual companies within that should be more transparent, or could we be better at being transparent within the industry when it comes to reporting, you know, statistics, or even just showing, you know, when we even to something as personal salary? Do you think that we could be, you know, being as transparent as we can be or should be?
Why? Why do you have to be transparent?
I think it's just interesting to hear your opinion on. Do you think transparency could change perception of the data center industry?
What, with regard to salary?
No, not just salary, just in general. How important do you feel being transparent as an organisation is to the industry in general?
I don't see it as a big deal. I really don't see the industry. I see the industry as a big deal, yes, for what it achieves and what it has to achieve and the outcome of it. But I don't see the construction. I don't see the design. I don't see everything around it as a big deal. When I first come into the industry in 2004, I come off the back of building a aluminium smelting plant, and I come into this industry, and what I realised at the time, I'll caveat that, at the time, there was a lot of salespeople specialised in selling UPS, batteries, switchgear, cooling systems, and that's fine, that's great, but I could put them all together, and I did not think that was rocket science, because obviously I am an engineer, but I didn't think that. But then it goes then that conversation strips right back to the beginning of tonight, where Andy was saying, and you, Scott, we're kind of like people are protecting their own, this industry where there's not, you don't have to. This industry's massive. This industry's going places. This industry is going far bigger than the talent that we've got to bring into the industry. So let's share the spoils. Let's not shaft each other over. You know, like the tier one contractors. You know, I always think, rightly or wrongly, but this is my opinion, by the way. This is my opinion, that they're a glorified bank that use the subcontractors down to the fact. And I used to say it's down to the last person who's his own limited company. You know, and like there's no one to, the tier ones are not taking responsibility. They're not investing in apprenticeships. They should be more investing in being traditional construction contractors. I might get shot down by that. I don't particularly care, right? Because I don't really work with them. But yeah, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but did I half answer your question? Yeah.
And I think I'll say on transparency as a whole, of, you know, like opening up a data center, you don't have to go back too far where you couldn't even find a video of a data. There's like a Google video from about, I don't know, probably like 2011, and it's like the Holy Grail. It's got about 100 million views on YouTube because it was the only video. Like, whereas now, it's quite easy to find videos. We can still do a much better job at it, though. I think, if we want to show what we do need to open the doors, physically as well as theoretically.
Any more questions? Go for it. Last one.
Right, so we've spoken a lot about talent. What would you guys advise if you had to go into a group of sixth formers doing their A-levels, have absolutely no idea what they want to do with their life, don't know what they're talented at, but know they want to get into data centers because that rules their world. Everything in their world works off a data center. That is the scenario I'm in. I want to be in data centers, but I don't know what I want to do. How would you?
I think, certainly from my side of things, like, I think one of the things that I've learned over the last years, you have to be uncomfortable, or you have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. You have to put yourself more out there. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this with Andy, right? And I say the same thing to any young person. If they already know and they already understand the role of data centers, and they understand that there is a good opportunity for a career there, start reaching out to companies, start applying for roles, start getting in touch with HR teams, do all of those good things. Equally, if they have no understanding of data centers or understand like your career opportunities within, let's call it digital infrastructure, then it's the job of all of us to go into those places and communicate to them with relevance and make it interesting and bring the stories to life. There are loads of great things that are happening, like KO Latest doing some brilliant work with the KO Academy going into primary schools, or those sorts of things. And there are so many other examples of companies doing brilliant work. But I would say, if I've understood your question correctly, and they know about data centers, there are so many jobs, there are apprenticeship opportunities, there are so many good things. I mean, like, if they want a job, get in touch with John. Literally as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an expression that I say, which is shy kids go hungry, or in the Scottish version is shy kids don't get sweeties. And I think, if any young person or anyone that's, you know, looking to develop their career or get into this sector reaches out to me, I always reply, and I'll always give people 10 minutes of my time to reply and point them in the right direction. And I actually think that applies probably to 90% of the people in this room. So I would encourage them to, you know, do the research as Rory suggested, and don't be shy. Get on LinkedIn with a profile and start reaching out to people.
Agreed. And I think hopefully coming to events like this, I know they might be under 18 at that one, but you know, I think part of the premise of trying to make things so that anyone can come along is for that reason, because again, we've all been there where it's difficult to get into an event. You get imposter syndrome when you're going to an event. Trying to make them a bit more welcoming hopefully helps some of these people come along and learn that we're not, you know, as bad as maybe they think we are.
Going into any job is going to be scary. So just get stuck in. That would be my advice.
All good?
I think it's a wrap.
I think we'll run out of power. Right?
Yeah. Camera's going to start switching off.
It's a wrap. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.